although personally I think they're absolutely hideous.
We got about 5. We got about 5 of them.
Did you see the RAC logo?
Yeah.
It must be almost 50 years ago now. It did come as a bit of a surprise when we were making money at the time. But it is now holiday accommodation. During the summer months it's actually a really
You have to be in it.
I don't want to be in it.
Well, we have the village of Kingswear on our right, considered the more exclusive side of the river, but obviously Dartmouth on the left, and this is South Town and above town. It's really a posh end of town, and it's where I live.
Right.
Well, thank you for laughing quite friendly, but I do live over here. If you look up into the woodland, you're going to see there is a small green tent, and that's actually my summer residence. And very nice it is too. Now, most people's front properties you can see over here, particularly the smaller ones, down King's Edge, they all started with houses. Years they've been developed into what you can see here today. It's pretty much the only way that you can build now. On either side of the river, there's existing property there beforehand. The larger villas you can see popping up at the top of the hillside on both sides were originally built about 4 acres of apartment. I always think this is a nice point of the trip to have a look at the properties on either side of the river. I was considering your choice of this week's lottery numbers. You never know. You might be lucky enough to look at one of these properties in the early parts.
Pretty rubbish inside.
I don't know if I particularly want to go to the and if there is any doubt, it's the as you can see, it was completely placed on there. They can see right out in the English Channel.
Still recording?
Yeah.
Am I in it?
So we had our own fleet in.
Hope not. I hope not in it.
You were. Amber was in it.
Really?
So to be fair.
I'm exercising a little bit more in this part because we've got the lower car ferries. It's really hard and they're held together with this one payment. Although that's not entirely true, drops. Now if you look closely at the mast of either one of these tugs, you can see some silhouettes. Now these are what are known as day marks, and they're displaying a ball diamond ball. That means they're manoeuvred with difficulty, so we have to give them a wide berth. Just watch the way they throw these boats around. You won't know the ferry itself has been a source of amusement to us in more recent months. It's actually owned and run by the local council, and in their infinite wisdom, they've recently changed all their signage. They're now describing themselves as the historic lower car ferry, and we find this amusing because we are quite convinced they're a of their senior members. One of which is actually on board the boat today. On you know. It is his name, he's a lavatory.
So we get back to focus, and it is focusing. So pause. I got past the camera for
That way.
Yeah, the thing.
Stop filming that.
Yeah, you can hold 25 minutes before into.
Like to be in, Ollie? Yeah.
It's all over you. Yeah.
Press stop, it's over on the left hand side.
Here we are.
Believe it or not, it was actually a railway station at one time, although we've never had tracks and train arrive in Dartmouth. They've always been on the Kingswear side, but it was in use as a station house up until the early 1970s, which is when the Kingswear to Painted line ceased to be part of the then British Rail. And at that time, you could buy a ticket over there for any destination in the country. You could even get to water to carry your luggage, but then in order to catch a train, you need to hop on the Kingswear station. Looking up onto the hill as well, working into the 7th. Because that commission in 1905, and since then, every immediate now member of our whole family has attended that body at some point during their career. So yeah, back in 1939, when the Queen first got round to it, Sadly, the future of the college itself has been in doubt in more recent years. The powers that be believe they can train our officers cheaper elsewhere. Well, nothing's been decided yet, but certainly if we were to lose the college, it would be a major blow to the town. They're still one of the main employers, and they contribute greatly to the local economy. And of course, Dartmouth is still very proud of its naval heritage.
You're on a long way out of it, aren't you? Yeah.
Imagine the trains being so close to
Now we have got quite a strange looking blue and white vessel just hanging on the right hand flank ahead of us. This is Dartmouth's new hire car ferry. I don't know really why we call it new, because it's been on the river now for the first part of 6 years. But if you visited Dartmouth before, you might remember the old one. She was a paddle-driven vessel, so it was a shame to see her go. She was one of the last paddlers to operate here. And she'd done so for some 49 years, making an estimated 1 million ferry crossings. But this is what we've got here now. It is twice the size of the old one. It does the crossing in around about half the time. And so because of that, it does cost you very nearly twice the price. And it is quite similar to its predecessor, in that it still has to guide itself across the river using two steel cables as such. It's always attached to the bank, so technically known as a floating bridge. And rather interestingly, if you look it up on some of the older sat navs, it will come up as a continuation of the highway. And so that is something that you might want to look out for if you're coming down to Dartmouth on a dark winter's night.
I've got the screen friend with your screen that Britannia Hoilday there. Steady. Old railway line station. We're actually crossing Britannia Hoilday as well. Because it was a piece of wood where it would have been single like the same.
Remember it? Yeah, it's good, wasn't it? Look where all the code which house do you like this one, right?
I feel like we've been here for more than 40 years, Ollie. But you know it was called Britannia Hoilday until that man told you it was a Britannia Hoilday. Huh?
Coming up on our left, the small naval dockyard of Sandkey, possibly the smallest naval dockyard in the country, and certainly in the southwest. It is all part of the Britannia Royal Naval College. The college itself built to replace two large wooden training ships which are moored in this part of the river.
I don't mean to turn around, we'll be on that side, so we'll be able to see the train line.
Just on our left is a large grey vessel, also called Hindus Star. Although that's actually a floating classroom, she no longer goes anywhere at all. The engines, helm and offense have all been removed. It's in here where the cadets get the theory side of navigation and seamanship without having to leave the water's edge. When they are more advanced into their training, they'll let them loose. The training craft on our left, these are the blue and white picket boats, numbers on, also the smaller grey motorways. We're passing a section of river still on our left, up town with these yellow mooring buoys. It's all part of the OND property and known to us as the nursery. It's in here where the cadets get their first taste of boat handling. Sadly though, we don't appear to have any cadets on the water at the moment, so I'm afraid you're not going to get the chance to wave and shout hello sailor, but it will make the river just a little safer for us. Coming up on our right, the shipyard of Philip and Son Shipbuilders are in here, established way back in 1858. Now I know this not because because I'm a local historian, but it is clearly painted on the wall over there. Locally, we know this yard as Knots. They were renowned for building several ferries, tugs and Trinity House light ship. And you know, shipbuilding no longer takes place in any shape or form. Well, up until about 15 years ago, they were concentrating on the refit and overhaul of the local fishing fleet. They also had a very lucrative contract with Customs and Excise doing repair work on those smaller Staff Patrol vessels. They've gone over to the leisure side of things, where the money is these days. As you can see, there is quite an extensive yacht marina. They also cater for the winter storage of yachts and cabin crew. One of the last boats built at this yard was a rather famous yacht back in 1970, the British Steel. And you may remember that Shave Light used that to sail around the world backwards, literally, of course, against prevailing winds and currents. They were very busy here too during the war years, during the Second World War, producing over 230 warships, including corvettes, minesweepers, and SC rescue launches. And it was also here, back in 1924, that the boat you're on today, at Kingswear Castle. She was built here to do the job that she's still doing so well. Although she's actually operating on a steam engine that predates her by 20 years. That was put in the original Kingswear Castle, which is now wrecked up towards Totnes. But that really is testament to the engineering of the time. Now the Kingswear Castle, of course, the boat you're on today, she's only been back on the river, and this is her 4th season now back in Dartmouth. She operated on the River Dart up until the mid-1960s, when in fact she was due to be scrapped, but she was saved at the very last moment by the Paddle Steamer Preservation Society. They fully restored her, and up until a couple of years ago she was operating on the River Medway in Kent. Well, a few years ago a deal was struck with this company, and they negotiated a 15-year lease to bring her back home.
Originally here. It's not a caravan.
Big caravan on water. That's what it is.
You think, I don't know how. I know we've gone past something. The Greenway Bridge is over there in the corner, right? In a minute, I think it's soon. I think so. I think something around that, I think. I'm going to be there, I don't know where.
Now we can see in this part of it we've got woodland on either side of us. See, woodland on our left is known as the Lord's Wood. It all makes up part of the Raleigh Estates. And the land on the left was pretty much as far as the eye can see. It was all presented to Sir Walter Raleigh for his services to the monarchy, good Queen Bess. Now we're not entirely sure what these services might have been, but it had something to do with the importation of tobacco and the potato. We do know it didn't do him much good. Shortly after being given the land, he fell out of favour. That was eventually beheaded. Although still to this day, the land is known as the Raleigh Estate. The woodland on our right, this is the Longwood. Most of the trees that you see over here are Cessar Oak. These would have been used under the town of Totnes in the 12th century for the tanning of leather and charcoal industry. The old Celtic word for oak is dart. So actually sailing up
way
the
behind
of many oak. Some of you might perhaps recognise these trees. You can cast your minds back to the 1970s and the BBC television series In the Evening Line. You may well recognise this as the Amazon jungle. Believe it or not, all of the Amazon jungle scenes are filmed in and around this part of the river. They helped it along a little bit if they waited for a very nice hot summer's day and a very low spring tide, so the beaches are well exposed. They could want to see plastic palm trees on the foreshore and a few inflatable crocodiles in the river. So there you are, there's your Amazon jungle. And we're now taking a slight detour along the Amazon.
thinking to put the station over that side and putting a bridge over across. Long bridge. They were thinking at this point. For the one.
Now we've always reached the point of the trip where we have to make our turn. And we do have to take a very wide sweep. With a boat such as this, these old paddle steamers are notoriously difficult to maneuver. It's one of the many reasons really that they went out of service, so we will be taking what's known as an Admiralty sweep here. It's a common misconception that you can actually oppose the paddle wheels to help steering, and that doesn't certainly not the case with this one. I think the Navy might have developed similar kind of gearbox during the Second World War, but they weren't overly successful. So there we go, 2 short blasts does mean we're going to make our turn. As we're making our turn, if you look ahead of us here actually you can see the village of Didisham, although we know it as Ditson, for no better reason than we're not fond of long words in this part of the world. But Didisham used to be very famous for the growing of Victoria and damson plum. At one time it was said there was a plum tree ought to be found in every garden. Although due to development it's no longer the case, but it is a lovely picturesque village. It does boast its fair share of television mafia. The late Sir Richard Dimbleby used to live there. His sons, Jonathan and David, still own property within the village, and they're both very keen sailors. We'll often see them on the water. Bill Giles, the BBC weatherman, he was born and bred in the village, and he's recently retired back here. And from this point the river does continue up to its source at a place called Cranmere Pool on Dartmouth. On the way it passes through the town of Totnes. Totnes is approximately 9 miles away from here. That's as far as we can safely navigate vessels of this size.
Alright, you'll have to get off then. Go on then, you get off.
No.
You can swim back. Come on then, you go and swim back.
No. Don't steer me away.
Well, we can't get off then, can we? We've got to wait till it starts.
Now you may or may not be aware that the River Dart is tidal, but to get some idea of the tidal rate, I'm sure all you need to do is look at the banks on either side of the river here. You can see that the bottoms of the trees are cut off in a nice neat straight line. Now some of our more unscrupulous skippers will tell you that that's our winter job, when we go up and down either bank of the river, trimming the bottoms of the trees just to make them look pretty for the summer months. Well, of course, that isn't true. What you're actually seeing here is the average high water mark. Because the river is tidal, it's also slightly salted, and any vegetation that's continuously dipped or dangled in salt water will eventually wilt, wither and drop off, and that's what gives us that nice neat straight line. The tidal range on the river, it varies from 2 to 5 metres, that's to say the distance between the rise and the fall. We do have a tidal race of just a few knots, but that can be greatly accelerated after periods of heavy rainfall.
What? Like this video can be huge, set them with the old one and the one front. I don't believe how many actually got full storage.
Yeah, so we can save your net and then we're going to go.
The camera would believe when it's saying it's got full storage because storage is stopped. You know, there's people looking down where all the How's your question now? Yeah. That look. Just to see all the boiler things. All this camera needs is to be splashed with water.
Again, we're passing the shipyard at Philippine Sun this time. On our end, this entire site has recently been bought by a rather large business consortium. They do have some really quite grand plans in place for it. And I believe the final plan permission has recently been granted. They plan to more or less level the sites as you see it today, which is a great shame. There's a lot of history attached to this yard, but it is going to be replaced with a luxury hotel, luxury apartment, state-of-the-art sailing school, a new yacht basin, and they also plan to increase the size of the marina, although part of the deal is that they have to provide some affordable local housing. This is something that we were all really quite excited about, and affordable housing is very difficult to come by in this part of the world. So as I say, we were excited about this, perhaps until Christmas of last year, when we saw a press release in one of the local newspapers, and in it was suggested that the starting price for a two-bedroom apartment would be $750,000. So affordable for who? We're not entirely sure.
Who's doing the fuel stuff down the bottom then, Dad? Dad? And who's doing the steam bit is down? Well, the Titanic used to
Go and have a look.
kind of go down. You want to have a look there?
No, I don't.
I don't think you can go down to shoot it down.
No, I thought we saw it as we came up the stairs on the way up. We'll show you what's going.
Is that the Titanic would have done there? Maybe a bit like it was a smaller thing. Yeah, we can lose it too. It should be here by 2:30. I know, hang on, Mum. It needs 2:15.
They've got the vestige really of the village of Kingswear, and as you can see why it's sometimes mistaken for Ballymore, as people start to make their home for these rather fetching colours, I have to say.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's improved the look of the place. Kingswear is considered the more exclusive side of the river. It's known as the sunny side of the Dart. We don't take a word for that today, but during the summer months they can get up to 8 hours of direct sunlight. Dartmouth will disappear into the shade by about 3 in the afternoon. And I think that's why we're known as the dark siders.
What's the story of Ballymore would you like to know? Okay.
Ready to start.
What's the story of Ballymore would you like to know? What's the story of Ballymore would you like to know? What's the story of Ballymore would you like to know? What's the story of
We've got quite a large creek opening up on our right. This is Old Mill Creek. There is an old mill house at the end of it, although you can't see that from here.
No, we're not doing it.
What you can see though are a series of boat yards and boat sheds.
No, I don't think.
The largest of those sheds belonging to this company, and that's where most of us spend the winter months. Come the end of the summer tripping season, each of our passenger boats has to come out of the water for the marine equivalent of an MOT. And we're slipped each of our boats underneath the sheds there for up to 6 weeks at a time, carrying out any repair or maintenance work that's needed for the upcoming season. We we do the bulk of the work down there ourselves. As you can see, we do a particularly fine job. These are the places that you can see.
Well, that's when our holiday would be.
I didn't fit yet.
No, but if you do, that's very easy.
Now the wildlife has been a little place, it looks as if it's been there for hundreds of years, but there is no age to this building at all. It started off life about 15 years ago as a small boathouse, you can see at its base. Originally that's all they had planning permission for. So as you can see, they have perhaps got a little bit carried away. It's still very much a work in progress, but I'm sure you'll agree, they are making quite a fine go of it. Access, as you might imagine, is a bit of a problem here. There's no road access at all. And originally, all of the heavy plant machinery and building materials had to be brought out here on the lower car ferries and landed on the beach by the leading headlights. And I will point out the lower car ferries to you in a few minutes. Switching over to our left, we've got a small creek opening up. This is Wharfleet Creek. At the head of the creek, you're going to see a stone building with the word Wharfleet on its side. And at one time was Dartmouth Brewery. Although more recent history has been the Dartmouth Pottery. The Dartmouth Pottery really quite famous for the gurgling fish jug. You might have heard of those, they have got quite a following. Although personally I think they're absolutely hideous. So much to my annoyance, my new one recently started collecting them. The pottery went out of business
still don't know if I like them or not.
years ago now. It did come as a bit of a surprise, they were making money at the time. But it is now holiday accommodation, and during the summer months especially a really lovely spot. We have the village of Kingswear on our right, considered the more exclusive side of the river. That's obviously Dartmouth on the left, and this is South Town and above town. This really is the posh end of town, and it's where I live. Well, thank you for laughing quite so readily, but I do live over here. If you look up into the woodlands, you'll be able to see there is a small green tent, and that's actually my summer residence. Over the years, I think about what you can see here today. It's pretty much the only way that you can build now. On either side of it, the larger villas you can see halfway up at the top of the hillside on both sides would have originally been built for wealthy shipping merchants and agents, both Dartmouth and Kingswear, both very successful commercial ports in their time. I always think this is a nice point in the trip to have a look at the properties on either side of the river. I was considering your choice of this week's lottery numbers. I never know. I'll be lucky enough to live in one of these properties in the end. Photograph of the Britannia Royal Naval College, and if you did, now's pretty much the best time to take one. This is more or less the best view you're going to get at the college. And if there is anything now, this is one of the large brick building standing guard over the town. As you can see, it was strategically placed. From there they can see right out into the English Channel. And at one time, of course, we had our own fleet here too. We're exercising a little bit of caution in this part of the river as we've got the lower car ferries operating here. These are all quite it's a fairly arcane affair, isn't it? To get a little bit of container point. Although that's not entirely true there, they use massive drops. Now if you look closely at the masts on either one of these tugs, you can see some silhouettes. Now these are what are known as day marks, and they're displaying a full diamond ball. That means they're manoeuvring with difficulty, so we have to give them a wide berth. But just watch the way they throw these boats around, and you'll wonder how true that is. The lower ferry itself has been a source of amusement to us in more recent months. It's actually owned and run by the local council, and in their infinite wisdom, they've recently changed all their signage. They're now describing themselves as the historic Lower Car Ferry, and we find this amusing because we are quite convinced they're referring to one or two of their senior skippers, one of which is actually on board the boat today. Aren't you know? It is his day off, so you can have a drink.
I can film for another 25 minutes before into it. I'm putting this all over YouTube and upload it.
Yeah.
What?
Something.
I'm going to show Ali this one. I'm going to show Ali this maybe next week. I'll show this all to Laura. I don't know. We're in schools maybe. You know what? I want to get the correct frame for that face. Need to zoom fast.
Just passing the town jetty now, we've got the station restaurant over on the left hand bank. Believe it or not, that was actually a railway station at one time, although we've never had tracks or train arrive in Dartmouth. It's never always been on the Kingswear side, but it was in use as a station house up until the early 1970s, which is when the Kingswear, the Painter line, ceased to be part of the British, what was then British Rail. And at that time, you could buy a ticket over there for any destination in the country. You could even get the porter to carry your luggage, but then in order to catch a train, you need to hold on to the train from Dartmouth to the Kingswear station. Looking up onto the hills on there, so we have the Britannia Royal Naval College, and the foundation stone for this building laid in 1982 by Edward VII. It was then commissioned in 1905, and since then, every immediate male member of our royal family has attended that college at some point during their career. It's also here back in 1939, where the Queen first met Prince Philip on a passing out parade. Nowadays, it's where pretty much all of the officers of our British Royal Navy are trained, where they also train some friendly and Commonwealth ladies here too.
They're on the Kingswear
To
Castle.
generate a bit of income for the college, and sadly, the future of the college itself has been in doubt in more recent years. The powers that be believe they can train our officers cheaper elsewhere. Well, nothing's been decided yet, but certainly, if we were to lose the college, it would be a major blow to the town. They're still one of the main employers, and they contribute greatly to the local economy. And of course, Dartmouth is still very proud of its naval heritage.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Now we have got quite a strange looking blue and white vessel just hanging on the right hand bank ahead of us. This is Dartmouth's new hire car ferry. I don't know really why we call it new, because it's been on the river now for the best part of 6 years. But it's been since Dartmouth before. You might remember the old one. She was a paddle driven vessel, so it was a shame to see her go. She was one of the last paddlers to operate here, and she'd done so for some 49 years, making an estimated 1 million ferry crossings. So this is what we've got here now. It is twice the size of the old one. It does the crossing in around about half the time. And so because of that, it does cost you very nearly twice the price. And it is quite similar to its predecessor, in that it still has to guide itself across the river using two steel cables as such, always attached to either bank. So technically known as a floating bridge. And rather interestingly, if you look it up on some of the older sat-navs, it will come up as a continuation of the highway. And so that is something that you might want to look out for if you're coming down to Dartmouth on a dark winter's night.
Yeah, we get the call it higher ferry. I spoke with the higher ferry. I don't know where your old Tom from, steam friend.
Yes, you can see the gradient fix up.
One of the last boatsmen built at this yard was a rather famous yacht back in 1970, the British Steel. And you may remember that the shaped line used that to sail around the world backwards. They were very busy during the war years. During the Second World War, cruising over 230 warships, including corvettes, minesweepers, and sea rescue warships. And it was also here, back in 1924, that the late John Day, Kingswear Castle, was built here to do the job that still doing so well. Although she's actually operating on a steam engine that predates her by 20 years, that's really the original Kingswear Castle, which is now a wreck up towards Totnes. That really is a testament to the engineering of the time. Now the Kingswear Castle, of course, the boat you're on today, she's only been back on the river. Just had 4 feet about back in Dartmouth. She operated on the River Dart up until the mid-1960s when in fact she was due to be scrapped, but she was saved at the very last moment by the Paddle Steamer Preservation Society. They fully restored her, and up until a couple of years ago she was operating on the River Medway in Kent. Although a few years ago a deal was struck with this company and they negotiated a 15-year lease to bring her back home.
So she'll go in 2030 back. She'll for another 15 years, huh? She'll be here.
She'll never leave now, that'll be it now. So, stay here now,
Well, they said it was a 15-year lease. Mummy, they said it was a 15-year lease.
yeah, but they'll keep it forever now.
What, they're going to make it 30? happened to your furniture, Anne? It's going to take a long time to edit. What?
It's been on all this time.
Painting Kingswear.
Now we've always reached the point in the trip where we're getting have to make our turn. And we do have to take a very wide sweep. Now with boats such as this, these old paddle steamers are notoriously difficult to manoeuvre. It's one of the many reasons really they went out of service. So we will be taking what's known as an Admiralty sweep here. It's a common misconception that you can actually oppose the paddle wheels to help steering. Certainly not the case with this one. I think the Navy might have developed similar kind of gearbox during the Second World War, but they weren't overly successful.
You meant the halfway between Totnes and Dartmouth.
But it is a lovely, picturesque village. It does boast its fair share of television mafia. Relates to Richard Dimbleby used to live there. His son was Jonathan and David Sloane property within the village, and they're both very keen sailors. We'll often see them on the water. Phil Giles, the BBC weatherman, he was born and bred in the village, and he's recently retired back here. And from this point, the river does continue on to its source at a place called Cranmere Pool on Dartmouth. On the way it passes through the town of Totnes. Totnes is approximately 9 miles away from here. That's as far as we can safely navigate vessels of this size.
Okay.
Now you may or may not be aware that the River Dart is tidal, but to get some idea of the tidal range, all you need to do is look at the banks on either side of the river here. You can see that the bottoms of the trees are cut off in a nice neat straight line. Now some of our more unscrupulous skippers will tell you that that's our winter job, that we go up and down either bank of the river, trimming the bottoms of the trees just to make them look pretty for the summer months. Well, of course that isn't true. What you're actually seeing here is the average high water mark. Because the river is tidal, it's also slightly salted, and any vegetation that's continuously dipped or dangled in salt water will eventually wilt, wither and drop off, and that's what gives us that nice neat straight line. The tidal range on the river, it varies from 2 to 5 metres, that's to say the distance between the rise and the fall. We do have a tidal race of just a few knots, but that can be greatly accelerated after periods of heavy rainfall.
Any time I'm get a new camera, I think. What? Well, how long have I let this camera go down? Mum. Mum, how long do you know about this? Hold on.
It's a lovely setting.
Yeah, this is going to be huge.
Are they like wave or not? Can I get in the way? It's a light away. You'll be in trouble now, so. Maybe a bit rough now, Mum. You might get wet now then.
In more man.
Bottles though. Huh?
Once again, we're passing the shipyard of Philip & Son. This time on our left, this entire site is recently bought by a rather large business consortium. They do have some really quite grand plans in place for it, and I believe the final plan permission has recently been granted. They plan to more or less level the site as you see it today, which is a great shame really. There's a lot of history attached to this yard, but it is going to be replaced with a luxury hotel, luxury apartment, state-of-the-art sailing school, a new yacht basin, and they also plan to increase the size of the marina. Although part of the deal is that they have to provide some affordable local housing. This is something that we were all really quite excited about, as affordable housing is very difficult to come by in this part of the world. So as I say, we were excited about this. That was until Christmas of last year, when we saw a press release in one of the local newspapers, and in it was suggested that the starting price for a 2-bedroom apartment would be £750,000. So affordable for who? We're not entirely sure.
3 normally comes back at about 3, doesn't it? So we leave painting at 2.
So it'll need painting a car to be here by 2 first there. I know, hang on then. I need 2:15.
Yeah.
So you've got the best view really of the village of Kingswear up ahead of us. You can see why it's sometimes mistaken for Ballavoy and people start to paint their homes and these rather fetching colours, I have to say. I think it's a great look at the place. Kingswear is considered the more exclusive side of the river. It's known as the sunny side of the Dart. You have to take a word for that today, but during the summer months
I thought he was joking just a minute ago when he said it.
Dartmouth will disappear into the shade by about 3 in the afternoon. I think that's why we're known as the dark side.
Yeah. I thought he was messing around.
We've got quite a large creek opening up to our right. This is Old Mill Creek. There is an old mill house at the end of it, although you can't see that from here. What you can see though are a series of boat yards and boat sheds. The largest of those sheds belonging to this company, and that's where most of us spend the winter months. Come the end of the summer tripping season, each of our passenger boats has to come out of the water for the marine equivalent of an MOT. And we're slip each of our boats underneath the sheds there, up to 6 weeks at a time, carrying out any repair or maintenance work that's needed for the oncoming season. We do the bulk of the work down there ourselves. As you can see, we do a particularly fine job. These are the places that you can see. Now the wildlife has been a little bit thin on the ground this afternoon. Unfortunately, we have got a bit of wildlife that can always be counted upon. On the left-hand bank here, you can see a row of houses following the roadway down to the hire car ferry. In one of the gardens, you should be able to see there is a life-size silver giraffe. You're probably wondering what on earth that giraffe is doing there. Also are we. We've got absolutely no idea. In actual fact, I mentioned the mystery of the silver giraffe a few days ago on a similar trip. When we got back into Dartmouth, a rather flamboyant gentleman came up to me and he said it's called art, darling. So I took his word for it.
Art. Huge, isn't it? Well, it's full size, isn't it? It's a full size one.
Well, you can see we're coming back into the main harbour now. We've got a large marina ahead of us, also a smaller one just coming up on the right. This is the Dart Marina. It is the most exclusive on the river.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you're probably aware, boating isn't the cheapest at half time. It's just a party boat here annually, while a starting price is well in excess of £8,000. Bearing in mind that's before you put any fuel in your tank or gin and tonic in your fridge. The great shame of it is that about 75% of these boats never move. They tend to be used as floating patios, and it's a standing joke locally that they're all aground on empty gin bottles.
What are you saying now?
Now the hire car ferry very kindly has decided to pull out in front of us. I'm sure they do this just for sport. So we are going to get quite close to the ferry. As we pass behind the ferry, if you look closely, you'll be able to see these steel cables that it uses to guide itself across the river. And you might be wondering if those cables are snapped. Well, the answer to that is yes, and on several occasions. Although I will say it hasn't happened with the new one yet, but certainly with the old one it happened many times. Most memorably was about 18 years ago. We were having a very severe November storm, a very strong northerly gale, combined with a very fast outgoing tide. The cables here became particularly stressed and decided to part company, and the old ferry started veering off to the yachts you can see ahead of us on the left. Fortunately, on board the ferry that particular evening was a very quick-thinking young deckhand, and he had the absolutely brilliant idea of throwing the anchor over the side. Now, this would have been a brilliant idea had he at first checked to see if the anchor was in fact attached to anything. It wasn't, and so beneath us lies the anchor and all of its chain. The old ferry continued into these yachts ahead of us on the left, doing well over £500,000, and indeed the Dartmouth Holiday for travelling with us today. We very much hope to see you again in the not too distant future. I will now leave you in peace. I need to go and help tie the boat up, but Simon will let you know when he's happy for you to disembark. So that's all from me.
Happy Christmas. No. He did last time, didn't he? Yeah, but last time we were down here in December, weren't we? No. We would have been on the boat in December, wouldn't we? November, December, wasn't it? No, it wasn't there. Because she used to always say it, didn't it? Yeah. I think like... That was all the other boat though, wasn't it? I expect these still do. It's the same crew that drives them. Never got used, I suppose. Didn't caught fire. I don't think it was used enough, was it? It caught fire, man. What?
That's the petrol station.
Yeah.
Fuel tank. Yeah, look, fuel. There's the steam train.
Here it is, just missed it.
No, you still see it. You go slow.
No, it's there, look. Where? Oh, there.
The old steam train just leaving Kingswear station. And of course I know that quite a few of you will know exactly what engine this is. So I'm not going to embarrass myself by getting it wrong. But of course I think all manner is meant for the train today. And looks to me like they're running a couple of minutes late. Just as bad as British Rail. And we promised not to break you this year.
We've got it right.
So it is? Yeah, you know, just...
No, it is. You know it. What's it called? 7827, Joe.
Yeah, all in the manor.
What's the name of it then?
From the manor, he told you.
Huh?
From the manor, he told you.
What's it called?
Something manor. Oh.
That's a funny whistle, isn't it? He did a funny whistle, didn't he?
Huh?
He did a funny whistle, the train.
Yeah.
You do that
Hello.
with
Do.
steam trains.
Echoes,
We used to be green, not black.
Sure?
Yeah.
When was it painted then?
I don't know where it was painted, but it was green at one point.
Was it? Yeah,
You only go to that new cafe, do you?
used to be green, he said.
What did?
Sure, that's right. Yeah.
What used to be green?
Train.
What is it now?
No.
What is it now?
Brave.
Black.
That's
Blue.
oh, that's brave though. Yeah. So far. No, that would be.
Yeah.
About the steam train.
Yeah.
Another class.
I like that. Sounds on one of their shirts when you go by.
Yeah, I couldn't read what it said, yeah.
They do trips like this when they're older.
Yeah.
What? Dad, it was a train name.
Got the stuff on their t-shirts and everything.
Dad, it was a train name.
No, the people here.
It was a train name, so I saw it.
What's it called?
It was something Manor. Well, I think I texted Mum the name.
Good bump there, Jasper.
Dim.
Control, isn't it? They're local, what quite good day.
Yeah, but you don't live here?
Well, I meant local.
Might be a local one.
Brake on. Okay. On my left foot, so there's brake on.
safely tied up alongside. Thanks very much. Take your time, please mind your step.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Dartmouth Steam Railway. This is the 2:15 service to Kingswear, calling you good and sounds, Chelsea, Greenway Holds by request, and Kingswear for Dartmouth. Any passengers wishing to alight at Greenway Halt will need to do so from one of the front two coaches of the train. That's coaches lettered A and E. Any passengers catching the shuttle bus service to Greenway House will need to leave the train at Chelsea. Could all passengers please have their tickets ready for inspection? And for those of you travelling in the Devon Bell observation station at the rear of the train, if you could have the exact £2 supplementary fare per person per single journey ready for collection, that would be very helpful. The locomotive at the front of our train today is number 7820 in Moore Manor, visiting us from the Gloucestershire and Warwickshire Railway, and was built by British Railways in Swindon in 1950. The first station on the service will be Dartmouth.
I'm speeding at 25. Come on, talk. Alright. Sam? Sam? Like that? That?
We're now arriving at Goodrington Sands. Goodrington Sands are station stop.
Somebody do it. Was that how many?
Yeah.
Was that how many there was? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, oh, 6. Because if you look on it, 6 tank engines. So we have all. Push the back one. Push the back one. What? The rear end one. That roof? Yeah. And the head one. Why are we stopped?
Got a flat tyre.
You reckon everyone actually takes off?
Yeah.
5 minutes, haven't we?
Ready?
Don't push them in.
When we get out. Just be careful with your feet. Because if you've got a 3 blue one, this will have to go in the yard to get mended.
We'll see.
They just set off. That's a line of lizard.
100.
What?
400. What, for a lot of singing, I want to do singing as well. You do? I didn't see it doing. I'm not going to kill him, you got the camera longer. And put the camera see what's around out. Bash it off. One of the signals red, I think.
No doing. There's no more blue ones, there's only 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, because you've got to stop it in there. Oh my goodness, about that.
Some of this line's along to rush the train. No, it's just you. You go Facebook. Facebook. Hammond. Train sign that? Do that? Oh, dear. How could it be possible to move it?
We're now arriving at Chester Mall. Change out just for the bus connections to Wrexham and Greenway House.
Also, it used to be a line quick. Used to Brixton.
You got. You cheater. What? Okay. You can't tell us. What's 28?
Why don't you just add it down to 10 and 4? So when you get to the 20s, it's going to get harder for him. So if you get to the 10s, it'll probably be easier.
What's 11 plus 2?
It's over 10. Give it to 10. No, you got 10.
11 plus 2. I need to.
That's 11, look. That's 10. No, that's 11. And I'll have another 11, 12. No. What is it?
Pins and needle bum, isn't it?
11 plus 2.
Oh, yeah, well.
Pins and needles in your bum.
Do you mean you want something?
Yeah. Pins and needles in your bum. Oh, sorry, Ollie. Also, Jack. Oh, Lucky Jack's watching. If Lucky Jack's watching this video, the train that's running from that Swindon Railway Union near Pack.
I know where it comes from.
Oh. What?
Look.
What? Get rid there.
Well, compare it to the other one. There's a hammer in it. That's right, isn't it?
It's alright.
I've seen about 50 times.
that for?
What's the tea?
Chicken burger there.
Okay.
Are you okay?
No.
What's wrong then? Cheese. Down. Look at your dirty nose. Your nails are clean. Sounds a bit in.
14. Why?
5 minutes.
Station.
Station? I don't know the station.
Yeah.
Guards having a cup of tea. No, got a walk from there. No, actually, we're going to go off the back.
Safer.
Yeah, no, you don't want to
I
go off
want
the
to
back.
get off that.
That's funny,
You
literally.
can't get off, there's nowhere to get off.
It's there.
No, there's nowhere.
Oh, yeah,
There's a big drop there.
yeah.
I haven't meant that one.
You think
I'm
that?
just smacking you.
No, that's not very nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What? What's that? What is doing? Oh, a drink. I don't know, one of you. I wasn't here, I don't know where I was.
Oh, we're going to the tunnel. Right.
What was I thinking about?
What? The train you put down there. Where's the platform? Here. go through some more? Yeah. Sweet. Have a look there.
Dartmouth, our next station stop. You have to start the ticket to the platform in the direction that we're currently travelling. If you are leaving us here, please remember to take all of your personal belongings with you, and for safety, please do not attempt to open any doors until the train has come to a complete stop at the platform. Please also mind the gap between the train and the platform edge, and for any passengers with any difficulties leaving, the gaps at the ends of the train are smaller. If you are returning with us back to Paignton this afternoon, we do ask that you allow at least 30 minutes, that's half an hour, to the ferry crossing, in order to give you plenty of time. This will be the train returns to Paignton, with one further service. Here at Kingswear you'll find the Holiday Cafe, which will be more than happy to serve you with one hot drinks, any light refreshments and any souvenirs. We'd like to thank you for travelling with the Dartmouth Railway and hope you've enjoyed your journey. We're now arriving at Kingswear. This is Kingswear for Dartmouth.
Thanks for watching, please rate, comment and subscribe. Bye! On the project route, training will be provided, including certification required. New bar,
Last week, ground. At least half an hour, 40 minutes before the time of the Boston. And I should hope to take some time to take a look at the Dartmouth. I've got 2 ferries on the this one. One direct to Kingswear to Success. If you want to go to the trip to the mention or want to upgrade your ticket, look at the right still picking up. Just to the left of the kiosk there with the blue top. And then the back up back. Maybe more capacity as well. As you do make that first outside land, left is just we can take out quick cabinet, travel with somebody. Try to get it alongside as soon as possible. And bring the ball vessel. Once they have this hard alongside, happy to do so. So the most great ready. Thank you for coming with us today. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you.
That's a good idea. He's going at that. Holly, you got all the just keep the guard for me. Is he? Yeah. Oh, too far. Hmm? You still got the other one pretty. Ferry first. Simple to control, isn't it? Yeah. You know. Unfocused. Oh, is it? Unfocused on it. Let's try it. Now, stop turning. And when this all comes in, I'm going to do a deep turn back over. You need to do zooming. You need to start to zoom while we're going to have a good picture. Cool. Low battery icon. No, not exactly no. Here it comes in. And you want to do zoom again. Now we get you in place. Get ready to start. Do we do my old solution? Hold tripod up, go over across. So the next bit. Jack. You on about? It's nice to see. Can you zoom on it? Still super zoom. You get a good picture of what the zoom on the ferry can do. But you have to unzoom where it's going. We're going to have a zoom. You know that right? You have to start zooming. Or the camera's going a little wrong. Oh, you can see this camera's designed for focusing, not photo. You know that, right? That's clever. And in he goes. And then now lift it and you can get to loose and up. And back on tight. And then just show people the other ferret. Is it still recording? You do it, yeah. That's it. Hang on. Oh, okay, get that boat in actually. Get the other boat in there. Right, load of stuff. That's good. I like this camera. You've got a very good camera for your manual, it's fun. When you're recording, push this in. Right. Then put it into a new focus. Hang on, just focus one. We've got an edit in. Perfect. Love it now. Right, so I just wanna also guys, the ferry you can see in the distance is the ferry we went on earlier today. On my steam train off the boat video. Right. It's steaming up there. It's joking. No it isn't, it's on steam. Why are you holding up like this? There we are. You can have some motion. Focus is pressing that button and sort of. No, it focuses a bit. Yeah, it's not exactly. There we go. Done. Hi, Ferry Dartmouth. Oh, that was easy. Boats. That's good. Perfect. Oh, you want to zoom in on this? He's going quick. That is a quick break to take. Okay, someone's still got the car engine on because the brake lights are on. Zoom in on. You need to zoom this. No, that's right. No, zoom in on the keep in line. Doesn't matter. Let's go. Isn't it? Hmm. Zoom. That's funny now. Zoom. Here. Zoom it now. It's taking you way too long. You have to zoom fast. You have to zoom fast, Ollie. Zoom it. I mean, then just. You can still hear it. Zoom like properly now. Jack, I know what I'm doing. I'm recording. I know what I'm doing. Not hard to record a video. I want you to keep guard. That's the way to do it. Zoom on. Can you zoom on properly for a bit? Like zoom in, just because then you get to see the ferry a lot closer. A bit more than that. Come on. No, a lot more. Keep going, keep going. It's fine for now. This ferry was only 5 years old. Fire cabinet over there, look. I know, so rain's coming back in like earlier. It's really, should be, this afternoon.
Oh, it's the ship.
Sorry. It's not anything, is it? No, it is. I've got it so zoomed into the ferry that you can't see nothing in the background. That's what I like about it. Right, zoom in properly now, because then I get to see it. No, it's getting unfar out, look. You need to get, like, to see it. You need to focus it. It's gonna be good. You can see the single light on that red. What's blurring now? The screen or the lens? What's blurring? The lens, I think. Was it the screen's blurring up? Blow air through. Yeah, if you don't, when you're walking through. Is it better? Steam up, steaming up. Oh, it's on steaming now, see? No, it's done, it's fine. So guys, I'll tell you, this video was recorded on the 19th day on the 19th of June at 5:34. So it's coming at 35 past now. Camera I'm using from Corpus 5300. It's a very good zoom, so you can see the Dartmouth Ferry. About 11. If I'm right, it's sorry guys, it doesn't like focusing on these days. It's normally too good at focusing, but you've got to do this. It's worse than a Nikon Corpus S5300 camera. It's the weather. Why is it not focusing? Blow on it, it will help. The screen's wet actually, my screen is actually. I hope you liked this video. Bye!